Oseo, Chalaki Nadaki, Southern District. Hello friends, here we are, another video update in the Big Thicket National Park and Preserve in southeast Texas on one of the many trail units in the area. It's a pretty day with all the different wildflowers blooming in color, butterflies and bees and insects pollinating the flowers, and all the wild grasses and plants flourishing on the ground floor of the forest. I thought I'd take this time on this video update to share some indigenous stories, as well as that coincide with local folklore and mysteries of the Big Thicket area. Most commonly referred to as Sasquatch or Bigfoot or the wild man in these parts. But today I'd like to share a few stories and tribal references to this legend from the Cherokee Nation, from the Great Smoky Mountains. The Bigfoot Cherokee Connection by Scott Carpenter. I was first made aware of the connection between Bigfoot and Native Americans after reading David Pollard's book, The Hoopa Project. David then followed that with tribal Bigfoot. In tribal Bigfoot, David puts all the pieces of the puzzle together. Exhaustive documentation to the fact that the Bigfoot has a special relationship with the Native American peoples. After reading his books, I began to wonder if there was any connection between the area I was researching and Native Americans. I was interested in most of the Cherokee. I knew at the time that there may have been some Cherokee villages near my research area, but I had no idea at the time the significance. I began researching, trying to find where and what Cherokee Indian villages were near my research area. I learned that the Cherokee in East Tennessee were now as the Over the Hill Band, but what I discovered next I was not prepared for. I found a print of a map from 1762. The map was drawn by surveyor Henry Timberlake. My research area was right in the middle of what was the Cherokee capital, called Chota. The area was heavily populated by the Cherokee. There were a series of villages in what Timberlake called the Chota metropolis. In that area, only the fighting men were counted, and by Timberlake's count, there were 809 fighting men. This would translate into a population of well over 3,200 Cherokee people. The ground I was walking had been inhabited by the Cherokee for hundreds of years, and the Bigfoot were there as well and continue to this day using the area. I also found an interesting Cherokee legend story called Tsul Kalu, or the slant-eyed sloping giant. The legend is about a Cherokee woman that marries a Bigfoot. It is a long read, but worth the read. This legend was supposedly recorded in the 1820s by European settlers. Also, legends of this creature go back at least 3,000 years. Among Native Americans, they have their own reported sightings that predate modern accounts by thousands of years. These come from several tribes, including the Iroquois and Shawnee. One Cherokee legend tells of a Bigfoot called Tsul Kalu that married a young girl and was blamed for all the tribe misfortune. First spotted by the Iroquois, the aforementioned Midnight Whistler is thought to be the first clan of Bigfoot to venture beyond the cave system where they hid from humans. It is believed to have used waterways to spread throughout Appalachia and eventually evolve into the different Bigfoot clans reported today. The nocturnal creature weighs 400 pounds, has various black fur to different color and glowing eyes, and communicates with booming whistles that allegedly resemble an engine sound. Cherokee legend has that the Tsul Kalu had the power to read people's mind. Present-day witnesses have claimed to lose time after sighting the Bigfoot, similar to the effect reported by those who claim to have been abducted by extraterrestrials. Hours pass in the blink of an eye, and the victim is left unable to recall what has happened. One suggested reason for the lack of evidence is the idea that these creatures bury their dead. There have been several reports of the discovery of burial grounds over the years. It would perhaps explain why no one has ever stumbled across a carcass in the wild. Some investigators believe the creatures communicate with each other, and even with humans, by knocking on wood with their fist, or possibly a club or stick. In the Lakota Oglala Sioux tradition, this creature is known as Chiatanka, and is large, shaggy, woodland being of the Sioux stories. Some people associate him with the legend of Bigfoot. His name literally means big elder brother, Chiatanka. Sasquatch is the most famous Bigfoot creature. According to Hakamalem and other Coast Salish traditions, Sasquatch was a powerful but generally benign supernatural creature in the shape of a very large, hairy wild man. Its Hakamalem name is pronounced similar to Sekituts, which formed the word Sasquatch. Another legend is the Champi of the Chickasaw folklore. He is sometimes described as a giant, and other times as a large hairy man, leading some to believe to associate him with the Bigfoot. His most salient feature is his smell. A Champi's smell is so overpowering that a person cannot bear to be around him, making him difficult to fight, which is also a reported experience among many people who have encountered or been in the areas of these creatures. The musky, odorous smell. Also, most of the native tribes across North America have stories in their oral tradition describing these creatures that look and behave very similar to what many Americans and Canadians have described over the past few centuries. The tribes are spread across all the linguistic groups of native languages. Every native group has its own name for these figures, suggesting the stories of these figures did not all arise in the same place. Sightings continue to happen on certain native reservations in the United States and Canada, those reservations with an abundance of natural food sources. Cherokee Tsul Kalu is the legendary figure of Cherokee lore who plays the role of the great lord of the game and as such is frequently invoked in hunting rites and rituals. The tale is one of the best-known Cherokee legends and was recorded in 1823, often using the spelling Tulikula. The name Tsul Kalu means literally he has them slanting, sloping, being understood to refer to his eyes. He is said to dwell in a place called Chunekuni. The words Chu and Chune and their variations appear in a number of Cherokee place names throughout the southeastern United States, especially in western North Carolina and Tennessee. Tsul Kalu, Chunekuni, is a 100-acre patch on the slope of the mountain Tennessee Bald in Jackson County, North Carolina, on the ridge upon which the boundary of Haywood, Jackson, and Transylvania counties converge. It is believed that Tsul Kalu was responsible for clearing the spot for his residence. The name is sometimes corrupted by Europeans to Jutakula. Consequently, the area is also known as the Jutakula Old Fields. There is also a large slab of soapstone called Jutakula Rock nearby, which is covered with strange scratches and carvings. These markings are said to have been made by the giant when he would jump from his home on the mountain to the creek below. Another place associated with Tsul Kalu, Chula Sinuni, where the footprint is located on the Tuskegee River, about a mile above Deep Creek in Swine County, North Carolina. Impressions said to have been the footprints of the giant Tsul Kalu, and a deer were found on a rock, which was destroyed during railroad building. These are just a few stories, my friends, and perhaps in the future I will make some other updates concerning this subject, whether or not I come in contact with Tsul Kalu. Wado Ekwa. Until next time, thank you.